Hi, so I just took this still life image. I'm doing a daily photo project where I take a photo a day, and this was today's photo. It actually just came to be while I was making breakfast, and I saw how beautiful the yolk looked in my bowl, and I got out one of my backdrops and I took this image that I really like. So I just did a very simple edit, and I want to go over what I did to make something like this just kind of pop. So here is the original, the straight out of the camera version. Here's what I came to, and let me just walk you through. So first thing I did is I do have a preset that I've created for food photography. I sometimes use it on portraits and stuff, although it is very high contrast. So I'm going to apply that, and then I'm going to go over each little piece of it. So let's start. Before we go over the preset, I'm going to crop. So really, I don't want to crop much. I did spill over a little bit past my backdrop in my framing when I was shooting. But overall, I do like the composition. I want to just bring it in a little bit. I'm looking at my rule of thirds, and I really like that the eggs and the shells are right here on the corners and the axis of the center grid. And then the other thing I'm looking at is this yolk right here, and it's centered right here. So that's a little way that you can kind of train your eye. I mean, the other thing is I'm just kind of looking at how it looks right to me. And the other thing is I do want to bring it up just a little bit. I think the reasoning is that even if this and this are equal, like there's an equal amount of space, for some reason I think we do like to see a little less space on the bottom of something. I don't know. I'm just kind of following my visual gut. There is a little bit of a grain in this backdrop, and if it's not straight, I think that can kind of mess with our eye. It's pretty straight, but I'm just going to go down and do a few little adjustments. So I'm going to constrain my crop, and I'm just going to rotate it ever so slightly so that the lines, like I'm especially looking at this line right here, feels nice and straight. Okay, so now let's go over some of the other elements. So I did bring up my contrast with that preset that I made. I want to see if maybe a little more contrast would be helpful. I do want it to have a lot of shadows. I mean, when I was shooting, the window light was coming from right here. I was making sure that the yolk was illuminated, and then I like where the shadows are falling, so I just want to exaggerate those a little bit more. Bring down the blacks. Now, the texture is kind of a nice way to bring out texture. Too much can be a little crazy. That's a little much. Too little, we look like we're in one of those, I don't know. It's a little over softened. So I'm just gonna add a little bit just to kind of bring the texture out of the backdrop. And then the clarity really does help make things pop. So I'm bringing that up a little bit. So even with presets, like, don't just press and go through each little element and make sure that it's working for this particular image. So instead of using my exposure slider, I'm going to use the curve right in the center just to kind of bring up the lights and the midtones, because I do want it to be a little lighter. Now the other thing I'm going to do is take a radial filter and put it over the yolk, because the yolk is the main thing I want to be illuminated. So we're just gonna add a little extra exposure to that one little spot. Nothing too outrageous. The other thing that's gonna help with that is taking the luminance up on the yellows and the oranges, because that's what's in the yolk. And you can see it's also, here I'll exaggerate it, it's also, see that, affecting the eggs, the egg shells. So just a little bit to kind of, I think it does help make those subjects pop out, you know, because those are kind of the three subjects. Maybe we'll add a little bit of saturation to the yellow as well. A lot of the time I look over here to the left to just kind of see how things are really looking. Oh, I think my cursor went over a different preset and now it looks weird. So that helps me because, you know, this will probably go on Instagram and it's good to look at it in a smaller way where you can really see the composition and how it looks at first glance. I'm going to bring up the exposure just a tiny bit. And then I do want to mess with the white balance. See, that made me want to bring the shadows down even more. Maybe bring the blacks down. Okay, so it's pretty cool. I actually like the white balance at the moment, but I think it could use just a little more warmth, just a tiny bit. And then let's bring the magenta down. My concern with bringing the magenta down is that it's going to turn green. And we really don't want any green with this yolk or anything. So I'm going to actually take the saturation of green all the way down. It didn't really, well, actually, see, look, if you bring it up, there is some greens in here. So I'm taking that all the way down because I don't want that tone. I like this kind of like yellow gray, orange gray thing that's going on. Is there anything else I want to do? I mean, I feel pretty good about that. Let's look at where it came from. So there's the original. Here's my edit. And that took, how long did that take? Less than 5 minutes? So there's a simple still life food photography edit in Lightroom. Hope this was helpful. I'm Alanya Lowe. Thank you.